is one of the reasons I like Washington. But I can tell you this too, diversity is what makes things resilient, whether you're looking at through any lens, either biologically, economically, whatever lens you look at makes you stronger to be diverse. Good growth, there's good growth and there's bad growth. Let's think about Las Vegas. They just recently grew beyond their capability of keeping up with their own water demand. Is that good growth? We've got to think about that. Safe, clean, affordable, healthy, those all sound like quality of life values, but they are economic values too. Those healthy cities are economically prosperous. So eco-friendly, that's kind of a cheeky term, but let's look at it with our eco eyes on. And just for the record, humans are part of the ecosystem, so count yourself in and think about that when you're looking to plan your vision for your floodplain. I borrowed the first two words, eco-effective and environmentally or eco-intelligent, from some fellows, William McDonough and Brongard, that have a movement called Cradle to Cradle. If you haven't read their book it's fairly old now, Cradle to Cradle, Remaking the Way We Make Things. They talk about eco-effectiveness instead of eco-efficiency. Instead of just trying to build things fast and getting them back, which we often do following a disaster, let's try to build them smart, and let's try to build the right thing to do the right thing. And eco-intelligent is similar too. You know, it's one thing to use green materials, but it's not very sustainable if you have to ship them from the other side of the world to get them here. So we got to think smart, and we got to do the right thing. I've already said something about diversity. The green economy, I think of Van Jones, the founder and president of Green for All, in his book, The Green Collar Economy. He points out that we automatically think green means the eco-elite, but quite frankly, we're at a time now where those things are, that it's not just the eco-elite that can enjoy green space and a green environment and sustainable ecosystems. It's economically prosperous for everyone, so we've got to look at how to make those things work together. And we've got to quit kind of fighting nature, and we've got to be thinking about our carbon footprint. It doesn't take much to look at what's going on the Gulf Coast right now and realize that the value of the ecosystem will drive the economy down there. We've got a major crisis going on there. And if you don't think oil and coal are messy, look at the incidents we've had lately. We've got to think about renewable energy sources. And then this lens is not one I really need to talk to you guys about, because this is what you do. This is what you manage every day. And it puts the whole life and safety right up at the top of the list. I live in a condo behind Union Station, and I ride the metro every day, and I walk through the parking lot. And the other day I was walking through, and there was a tour group. They had on red T-shirts, and on the back it said, "Save one life, you're a hero." It said, "Save 100 lives, you're a nurse." Well, how about we add another line? Save 1,000 lives, and you're a floodplain manager. That is what you do, and that's what we're here for. But I think we need to be able to communicate to the people that live in these communities that being resilient, disaster resilient, and hazard resilient needs to be on their top 10 things of places they want to live. This quote is from James Eades, who you may remember butted heads with Humphreys in the big debate on the Mississippi River between dikes and levees. And I guess we're still having some discussions about levees. But what it really says to me is that we can't really control nature. We've got to think about the power of it, and the power of the river, and the power of the physics and the chemistry and the biology. Because if we think we're managing it, we're not. So what happens in the face of disaster? You know, what do we do? How do we respond? This can be an opportunity. This is Greensburg, Kansas. If you'll remember, a few years ago, it was obliterated by an EF5 tornado, completely wiped out. On their website, it says it's the tornado that changed everything. And here's why. They went back in and they decided they were going to have a whole new image. And they've gone green, okay? Greensburg, Kansas green. And so this is a real success story, right? In fact, their mission statement is so inspiring that it's to provide inspirational leadership, not just to Kiowa County, but to be a model for the world, of sustainable living for the world. So this is an example. What I hope they built into their vision was resiliency. So if we're not communicating in post-disaster that you need to be thinking about the next one, then we're not getting the message out either. So I hope they use the building codes and the things they need to be resilient against the next tornado. Here's another example, and quite frankly, we're all here this week where it's a little bit of preaching to the choir. We all know the story, but I think what's really good about these kind of conferences is we share best practices. So I'm certain there's a lot of things you're sharing with each other that are good management practices and ways forward. This is an example of kind of thinking about what your makeover is going to look like before it happens. So you can look, these communities have post-disaster redevelopment plans. And I'll just read what the state says about this. A disaster, while tragic, can also create opportunity. With a post-disaster redevelopment plan, a local government has a better chance of moving the community farther down the road to resiliency. Recovery topics addressed in the plan should include business resumption and economic redevelopment, housing repair and reconstruction, infrastructure restoration and mitigation, short-term recovery actions that affect long-term redevelopment, sustainable land use, environmental restoration, and other financial considerations. So it's these pilots and these kind of programs that we all should learn from. So can we put it all together? Let's go back to the building blocks. Asking you to have a vision for what you need to have a good floodplain, you know, sustainable floodplain. But can we put it together, and what building blocks are available? I'm going to talk just a little bit about green building blocks because I really think this is important. And I think we've got to communicate with partners that are outside of our circle and look at other communities of practice that are trying new and different things. It's catching on. Developers aren't picking up and doing LEED certification and Energy Star because they just want to do the right thing. They're doing it because they're making money. It works. So we have got to build these programs where there's economic incentives to do the right thing. And I think there are opportunities there. I think it's all coming together. I think the moon and the stars are lining up with the things that are going on out in the private sector and the federal sector and in the federal agencies. And so I want to talk a little about that. How about some new ideas? How about carbon credits? If you're going to move houses out of the floodplain, why not get some credit for it? You know, can we ride that wave as it moves through? I've heard some ideas from some of my staff. How about mitigation banking? Think about it as paying it forward. Communities that do the right thing get some kind of credit for doing the right thing. How do we reward that? And then take some of our existing programs, the community rating system, the NFIP. How can we make them green or fishy, as someone in Region 10 told me?